Evening, you wrong'un. Wrong'uns, plural. Let me just make sure that I have the very thing that I need. Standby caller. Oh, there we go. How bizarre. Oh, that's why. Oh, the uninvited guest. Hello, Adrian. Hello, world. Oh, hello, uninvited guest. You utter wrong'un. To Paulie Galtieri, good evening. Good evening. Paulie. Yeah, wrong'un. Oh, let me just kill that. Danny D. Dancing Danny D. Do you know that there was a Danny D that D-Mob back in the back end of the 80s? Dancing Danny D. He was a great guy. They made some great songs with Kathy Dennis. Evening, Danny. The motorcycle restorer. Yo, Adrian. Adrian. To Ros Wood. Good evening, Ros. Welcome. Welcome to the body of the Kirk, as they say in Scotland. Well, just give everyone a couple of minutes, because you know what people are like. They like to be early. We'll let them get their feet under the table. Please don't forget, if you do enjoy this particular live this evening, then always hit the thummy thing, because it does help, seemingly. I'm not quite sure why, but it does help the channel. If there's lots of likes, lots of comments, and lots of returning viewers. Anita James, hello, Adrian. Oh, hiya, Adrian. Hello, Anita. Peter Rose, evening, Adrian. Evening, Peter. You're on. Sandra Witham, hi there from Sheffield. Up the blades. Sandra, I used to work for, what did I do? Hallam FM. Back in 92, I think it was. 91? I was doing Hallam FM mid-afternoons. I had a great time in Sheffield. Angela Rollins, big hello, size queen. Matty PW, good evening. Sorry, Angela, I'm just teasing. And Peter Rose. Peter Rose. Evening, Adrian. Evening, Peter. Kawasaki. Sound like a Geordie. Paulie Galtieri. Evening, Adrian. Is Kitty a proper wrong'un? I think Kitty is beyond a wrong'un. Completely and utterly beyond. We shan't get into it though, Paulie. Not tonight. D. John, Adrian, wasn't it sad how LBC Steve Allen walked out after 45 years? D. Steve is one of the nicest, warm-hearted, humble men you're ever going to meet. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. And obviously, I finished just before he started his shows. He used to listen on his way into work. He was very complimentary about stuff that I did on LBC. And I love Steve to bits. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. And an exceptional broadcaster. Exceptional. This 2023 wokery is just... I do hope that we hear Steve back on the radio soon. Because he's just a consummate professional. You can hear some of the techniques that he does. And I do hope that he finds it in his heart to grace us again on the airwaves, somewhere, somehow. Because he's one of the best. In fact, I've got a tape somewhere of Steve, of me in the early days of my radio career, when Steve was reading the news for IRN. That's how talented Steve is. But I had a wonderful time with him. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And if anybody does or is in contact with Steve, please send him my love and regards, because I hold him in the highest regard. So thank you. Gary Darcy. Evening, Adrian. Gary from Edinburgh. Oh, Gary, stop teasing me. You're wrong. And Edinburgh. Loved it. I was there for 10 years. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Still do. Lived in Musselburgh, and I was a bottom panner for a while. Only those in Edinburgh will know what I'm talking about. But Edinburgh is such a beautiful, beautiful, breathtaking city. You've got to walk around Edinburgh with your head up, because you'll miss the beauty of Edinburgh. Some of the monuments, Ard Riki, it's a fabulous place. Wonderful, love it. Thank you, Gary. Paul James, Norway. Blimey, Paul, I've never been there. Hang on a second. let me just crack through some of these. Sandra Wytham, yes, remember you before Hallam went to FM and moved from the town centre to an old bus garage in S6. Yeah, they did. Blimey, Sandra. Matty PW, bottom panner, LOL. Matty, do you know what? No. Oh, hang on a second. I'm going to have to explain this because I know all of a sudden Matty's giggling like a schoolboy thinking he's cracked a dirty funny. No, there is a place in East Lothian called Preston Pans, and you are either, so Preston Pans. So panner, you're either top or bottom pan. God, I know how. I know. Somebody's had one of their texts barred by YouTube. You're obviously just being muggy, you dirty tarts. No, Preston Pans is a fabulous place. The people there are wonderful. Wonderful. And Musselburgh. I've got loads of friends in Musselburgh and Preston Pans, and some of my dearest friends are from the outer reaches of Edinburgh and East Lothian. I guarantee you, if you've never been, it is one of the most beautiful places on God's green earth. Looks out onto the North Sea, and oh, I just love it and miss it to a certain extent. Matty BW again. There are enough panners on the BBC. I knew, Matty. I knew where you were going. To Alison Gunnison. Hello, Adrian. Looking forward to tonight's live. Hello, Alison. Yeah, utter wrongin'. To Pauline Makepeace. Where are you on radio? Were you on radio in Worcestershire? As in the source, Worcester. Trying to think. I might have been. Worcester's kind of Midlands-ish. It's in between. Isn't Worcester in between? This is an Englishman who doesn't know his own geography of his own country. Isn't Worcester sort of in between Wales a bit and the Midlands a bit? I think I might have been. It'll have been the radio stations that sort of bled over Worcestershire. I'll have to have a look at that. Nick, Evening Adrian, you're utter wrongin'. Hang on a second. Any Alex videos coming soon? Yes. Now I'm gonna start tonight with a kind of an admission, but just to kind of let you know where we are with a lot of things. Preston Pans is on the ECML. What the what, eh? East Coast. East Coast Main Line. It is, and I think with if you travel train from sort of I don't know, England Shire into Edinburgh. You get some of the most beautiful views on the East Coast Main Line. It's just fabulous. Don't you agree, Holly? Paul James, you and your wife are welcome to stay at my place if you're ever in Norway. Paul, that's a deal. We'll book the flights tomorrow. I've been to Sweden, but I've never been to Norway. Always want to go there, mainly for the Northern Lights. So let me sort of get my feet under the table. I didn't really promote tonight's live simply because I just haven't had the time. There's so much going on, and this was in answer to somebody asking if there's going to be any more Alex videos. Gelly Darcy, Musselburgh, the honest tune as it's pronounced, and it is just that whole East Coast coastline is wonderful. It's beautiful. When I was in Musselburgh and the Preston Pans, I was literally about 30 seconds walk from the sea, and the air is very clean, and it's just I had the best time, and some of the views and some of the sunsets on in East Lothian defy description. They're just so amazing. So welcome to live number 19. The next live is this coming Wednesday, the 20th of July. I do hope I've got the date right. It's going to be 8 o'clock. So we'll try and make it 8 for all of the lives from here on in. And the reason why I wanted to kind of give you a sit rep, let you know where we are, the what so, if you've done Landmark, is we are 4 weeks away. Sorry, my partner and I, my fiance and I, are 4 weeks away from the wedding. And the last minute organisation, if you've been married and you've organised a wedding, you will know. I mean, I've got an amazing fiance that is just talented and beautiful, and I'm just a bloody knuckles scraping Luddite. So I have to thank her for for just organising everything. I mean, she's just amazing. Anyway, we're 4 weeks out. It's going to be an amazing weekend, and it's August 13th, so we're exactly a month away. And the amount of organising you have to do for a wedding is just breathtaking. I mean, I never knew. I just thought, well, it's all right, get the ring made and then propose, and then that's your work done. Because the engagement is about the man, the wedding is about the woman, or whichever partner, because it is 2023. But I kind of had the ring made, proposed in front of the pyramids in Egypt. I was going to say Sphinx, but I'm sure somebody would have made a mucky gag about that. Sphinx and pyramids, and it was fabulous, just amazing. And I thought, I'm done. There's the ring. And I did it on national TV. Have I told you that story? It was on national TV in Egypt. So we go to the Cairo Museum to see Tutankhamun's mask. It's been a dream of mine since being a little boy and reading about it in magazines and books and newspapers, and I never saw it when it was on tour. So we go, and there'd been an absolute muck-up with the tour guide that we'd hired, because he'd forgotten his camera. And I'd said to him the day before, I'd emailed him and said, look, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to do it. I want to do it in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid. Now, if you know anything about the pyramids, you know that you've got to get there early, like proper dead early, about 8:30 a.m. before all the Japanese get there with all the cameras. And the King's Chamber within the Great Pyramid is not that massive. Not that I'm a size queen or anything, but so he's late by easily 45 minutes. And the driver of the car is saying, he'll be here, don't worry, he'll be here. And I'm looking at the driver going, where the bloody hell is he? We've got stuff to do. This is a big day. It's got to be today. Otherwise, it just mucks everything up. And if you're into numerology, it was a 9-day. So he appears, this tour guide. We've never met him before. He appears and jumps in the car. I've got my camera. Oh, brilliant, mate. And my partner is, right, we're not going to the Great Pyramid. It'll be full of Japanese tourists with all the cameras out. And I wanted to go to the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid on our own. We wanted to be the first in there. So this guy, I mean, he's looking at me, almost pleading, I'm really sorry. So we go up to the pyramid. We go up to the entrance to the pyramids on the Giza Plateau. And my fiance is saying to me, we're not going in there. We'll just go to Cairo Museum and we'll do something else. So I said, okay. So I said to the guide, look, we're not going to be able to go in there. And he's like, no, it's fine. Don't worry. I'll make sure it's fine. I'll make sure it's special for you. And I'm like, your blooming camera, what? Oh, I'm really sorry. I was late. And honestly, I'm trying to deal with my fiance who's not very happy with him who's trying to apologise to me, and I'm looking at the Great Pyramid going, well, we're going in there. I can't really see any people around there. And anyway, about 30 seconds later, we make the executive decision. We're not going into the King's Chamber. We're not going into the Great Pyramid. We're going to Cairo Museum. So I'm saying to him in my best Egyptian, oi, you're wrongin'. And he's like, oh, I tried. I said, you didn't try hard enough. Why didn't you have your camera ready? And my partner's saying to me, you all right? Fine. She knew there was something up because I'd been off my food a couple of days before, and I'm never, healthy appetite, healthy mind, as far as I'm concerned. And she was saying to me the night before, what's wrong with you? You're not eating your food. Oh, it's just the heat. It's not warm here. So she knows there's something up. I've had to carry this engagement ring on me all the time. And if you've ever been to Egypt, you know that every single building you go into in Egypt has a metal detector on it. And everywhere I go, my fiance, or who's then just my girlfriend, is standing next to me. So I've got this engagement ring in my pocket. And I'm having to try and get it through the metal detectors. And I could see some of the security in some of the buildings we're going through, looking at this little box that was going through, that my girlfriend at the time subsequent fiance, had no idea I had on my person. So I'm trying to hide this from her. This tourist guide's neither use nor ornament. And we then make the executive decision, we're going to the Cairo Museum. Go to the Cairo Museum, and it's burst. It's burst. I'm like, the biggest day of my life. I'm trying to think of, romantic words, romantic poems, romantic things to say. And it's just the worst day of my life. I'm nervous. I'm sick to the pit of my stomach. And this guide mucks it up. So I was resigned to not asking for a hand in marriage. I'd done the old thing, the real romantic thing. I'd been to my partner's parents and I'd spoken to them and asked their permission to ask for her hand in marriage. All the romance. I mean, her dad did say to me, "Look, you're wrong. Mea culpa. Look, you're wrong. Just I said to him, look, I don't really know what to say. I mean, I love your daughter and I want to make it special." But he said, "Look, just speak from your heart. Whatever is in your heart, just say it." So we go to this Cairo Museum with all this in the background. She has no knowledge whatsoever. She didn't even guess it. So we go to the Cairo Museum to see the Tutankhamun mask. Now, the really weird thing was there's a massive queue of people trying to get in to see Tutankhamun's mask. So we pitch up and the guide says, "No, you go through, you go through." And I said to him, "Do we not just wait for the queue?" No, you have priority, you go in. And literally we walk into this room with Tutankhamun's artifacts. And everybody disappears. Literally, every other human being alive disappears out of this room. So I get my moment with the Tutankhamun mask, and I get the moment of looking at this breathtaking beauty. That's the girlfriend, not Tutankhamun's mask. I'm joking. And I have this moment. It's a life's wish accomplished. Not necessarily a bucket list, but as a little guy growing up in the Northeast and seeing Tutankhamun's mask in encyclopedias and in magazines, it's just one of those things. So, D. John, we'll get to that and what you're responding to Sebastian about. So anyway, we come out of this room having had a most wonderful moment together. Nobody else in there. Insanely. We walk out and this guy like Mr. Ben from the BBC cartoon, we'll get to the BBC later, comes out and he goes, so the guide is standing with me and my partner, and this guy comes out and goes, "I'm from Egyptian TV. Can we interview you?" And my partner said, "Oh, you do that. You've done the media stuff. Why don't you go and do that?" So I said, "Okay." It's just a quick interview to ask foreigners how much they enjoyed Egypt, what they liked about Egypt, and just to give a bit of background. It's called Vox Pops, Voice of the People. So I go and do a quick piece to camera, do a minute or two with an interview, and they're fine. And because my partner has seen me make it look easy, she goes to me, "Do you think I could do that?" I said, "Well, yeah, they'll just mic you up, just stand on X marks the spot and just tell them whatever comes into your head about Egypt." So anyway, they're miking her up. And the guide, who dubbed up that morning and spoilt the whole plan, says to me, "Go now, go now." I said, "Go where?" He said, "Propose now." And I'm, "What, here, now?" "Yeah, propose now." So I was, my partner was just finishing her piece to camera, the interview with the producer who'd stopped us to do the interview. And I just walked into frame saying, "Keep the camera rolling." And I go down on one knee and all these Germans, and I mean, there was literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Germans, Italians, Russians. It was every nationality. The place was heaving. I'm down on one knee and my partner looks down at me as if to say, "What are you doing? What are you doing down there?" So I drag this box out of my pocket and I say, some words, some stuff that I can't really remember because of the moment, and my partner can't really remember either because it was just anyway, the whole place erupts. I've proposed on national Egyptian TV, and the whole place goes nuts. Everybody's clapping and whooping, and I put the ring on her finger, and that's how I found myself with a fiance. I found her in Egypt. So I will tell you the stories about the wedding, because we're very much looking forward to it. It's a month out. So this is what we're going to do. We are sorting videos out now because from the wedding, I'm away for a month, a complete month. We are honeymooning in Peru, and there's no internet in the Amazon, and there's no mobile phones in the Amazon. So I'm going to have to make sure that I don't, because after a month you'll be like, has he come back yet? Or did he die in the Amazon? Or did he meet Sting and that indigenous tribe in the Amazon? Has he got a plate in his front lip? All that. But we're going to Machu Picchu, and if I can somehow, I'll record it for you, because I know a lot of people like Graham Hancock and Machu Picchu and all the ancient alien stuff. I'm going to do some recording if I can, and if I can find some way of, Matty, I'm not taking Battenberg cake with me. If I can find any way of doing a live from Machu Picchu, that's what I want to set up, because I don't think it's ever been done before. So you're going to have to monitor the channel, and I will try and do a live from Machu Picchu if there's any chance. If technically it's able to be done, that's what we're going to do. But I am away for a month on me honeymoon. So we are currently making videos, some of which are radio based, some of which are Doogie, the convicted stalker based, and other stuff. When I come back, we're looking at doing a phone in once or twice a week. We're looking to do lots of other stuff. Matty, I know what you meant. No, there's no Battenberg cake for the wedding cake yet. So we're looking at things for when I come back from honeymoon, mid-September, early October. So as those that have been to these lives before, they know that my background is in live speech radio and phone-ins, and I intend to bring that, which is why we're doing the lives more regularly, to get into the rhythm of doing things when I come back from my honeymoon. And thank you to everyone who's Sebastian says phone-in would be mental. Oh yeah, daddy now then. Thank you, Sebastian. Well, Sebastian, are you a real radio listener? Are you in South Wales currently? Pauline Makepeace, I picked the almond yellow stuff off the Battenberg. If only you knew why we're mentioning it, Pauline, you wouldn't pick anything off. This week we've done a couple of polls. It's been sort of 6 or 7 days of Huw Edwards. It's been an insane week, and I do want to touch on that, because I've had some incredible comments by very wise and very insightful people that watch this channel. And I'm going to go through a few things that I want to talk about. Congratulations to see, I've got Alcatraz in my head now. I'll blame Sani. No, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to blame Sani, because she's put Alcatraz in there. Oh, Alcaraz. Is it Alcaraz, the Spaniard? Beat Djokovic in a very, very exciting Wimbledon's men final today. So congratulations to Alcaraz. I just want to say not that I'm picking a fight or anything, but I have laughed my cat off all day today. That left-wing rag, the Daily Mirror. I wouldn't pee on it if it was on fire. But this kind of Brexit, Jim, but not as we knew it. Lawson 143, is Huw covering for Schofield? I think you'll find Hugh's getting away with a lot more than Schofield did. Well, he's in hospital, isn't he? So, 12 trillion Brexit deal. We've done a trade deal, seemingly, with the Indo-Pacific Group. Any idea who the Indo-Pacific Group is? Me neither, but 12 trillion, I bet you the politicians will nick most of that. Expenses, obs. So all those people are going, hey, Brexit's not working. No, Brexit is not working. We need to rejoin Europe. In the words of the great Chinese philosopher, are you off your head? It's Brexit, Jim, but not as you know it. Everybody that was hoping that we were going to go back into Europe, Project Fear, Europe wanted us, wanted our money. Oh, we're going to war. Oh, no, we're not. Europe, busted flush, completely busted flush. Now we've got a £12 trillion deal, Brexit trade. And that's just the start. So everybody that thought our economy was going to tank because we left Europe, no, the whole world's tanking because it's organised. I just want to also give you the heads up. Screwed Crime, my Screwed Politics post are not appearing, Adrian. Have I been shadow banned? Screwed Crime, what's that? Don't know. I mean, I do say regularly that please check that everybody's subscribed, because some people are contacting me saying, have you unsubscribed me? No, I've not touched anything. And the only posts we ever delete are the ones that are just silly. So, no, I'm not sure, Screw Crumb. I'm not sure what's going on there. But be in touch. Be in touch. I'm sure we can. I want to just give you the heads up, because Kier Starmer, that man with the scintillating personality of a sloth, do you know what's going to happen when he gets into power? I don't think it's going to be full power. I have maintained all the time that I've done this channel that it's going to be a hung parliament, the next general election, because people don't want the Tories in, but they're looking at the last lot who nearly bankrupt the country and are saying, well, we don't want that lot either. So who can we have? It'll end up being a hung parliament. But you know who's going to come creeping back after 13 years? Anthony Charles Linton Blair. And if you know, if you want to know what I'm alluding to, just Google Charles Linton. It's up to you if you want to have a look at it. And what on earth would I be talking about? It'll open your eyes. Anthony Charles Linton Blair. So he's one of the elite. He's one of the globalists, and he's saying the uninvited guest, Pink Roses. Would that mean it is 3 people suing a? Oh, hello. Hang on, Pink Roses. I missed that. I'll have to catch up with that. So Tony Blair, sorry, to give him his full moniker, Anthony Charles Linton Blair, Catholic. How he got to be Prime Minister of this country, I have no idea, because I'm told that there's laws against Catholics being Prime Minister. He is continuing to call for universal digital ID. Now, I can be a cynical old tart, and I understand that globally they want everybody to have this digital ID, but what has ever Mars or Jupiter done to Tony Blair that it's got to be universal? I mean, do you think the sun's beaming down on us going, Tony, mate, I'm not going to have a digital ID? So I will say this. Tony Blair's got it the wrong way round. Instead, why don't me and you mandate digital ID on our government? We need to monitor what these thieving oiks, clowns in Clown World, are up to. So, Tony, mate, if you're listening, and I know you're in the Middle East, so you might be a couple of hours ahead of us, you'll understand us, because your parliamentary seat was in almost the northeast. It's kind of sandwiched in between North Yorkshire and the northeast. Let's have your ass mandated, my man. So let's have all the politicians so we can see what they're up to. And I'll put it this way. We don't serve them. They serve us. That's what democracy's about. Isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Sex Pistols, rarities. Hey up, Adrian. Is that who I think that is? Sex Pistols, rarities. Fabulous. One of the greatest bands ever, 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 ever. Changed life, the universe, and everything. So Tony Blair still crying out for universal digital ID. Is that twice, Tony? Congratulations to the Spaniard beat Novak Djokovic in front of 15,000 people at Wimbledon today. And, well, it was quite exciting. It was the world number one against the world number two. It was quite exciting. But I'll tell you this, I'm old enough to remember Borg versus McEnroe. The insanely awesome Wimbledon men's final that there's not a single Wimbledon men's final will come anywhere near. The two greatest proponents of men's tennis ever. I mean, Borg, the Iceman, against McEnroe, the entertainer. I had the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful privilege of meeting John McEnroe. I watched him play tennis on a tennis court, and that, for me, there are just a couple of heroes: Brian Clough, John McEnroe, Muhammad Ali. They are my three. They're my three massive heroes, and to have met two of them, and sadly Muhammad Ali's no longer with us, but great men of the last century. But it was still good enough to watch. Now, let's get on to, I am going to use the two polls that we've had this week and some of your comments. I will get to those in a moment. But I want to tell you a story. I don't know whether you've been monitoring the story this week about Dan Wootton. Now, I've read the story. I don't want you commenting about it. I want you to be gentle tonight, because we don't know where we are with things. It was a bit like Huw Edwards. We knew who it was, but we couldn't name him. But I'm going to hopefully do a video tomorrow to explain to you what Article 8 is and what Dame Janet Smith's review was all about. Savile. You aware? He sexually assaulted 72 people. He raped 8, including an 8-year-old. And that's why Dame Janet Smith had to have an inquiry over 4 years and deal with the scum-sucking pond life inside the BBC. And now we get someone that has just been grubby. And he's been doing it behind his wife's back. That, whether people say, oh, it wasn't illegal, doing it behind your wife's back, put yourself in her position. Or what would you do if it was your husband, partner, fiance, and they were doing nefarious stuff behind your back? How would you feel? Unless you knew. So Dan Wootton, he's led an interesting life. That's all I'll euphemistically say. He's led a very interesting life. Sebastian Hopkins, Starmer at the Crown Prosecution Service covering it up. Oh, yes, it went across his desk. Everybody says, no, it didn't. No, it didn't. He was the head of the CPS, and Savile's file went across his desk. NFA, no further action. Ask Kier Starmer about that in the run-up to the general election. 50p, sixpence, 50p, sixpence. That'll be Kier Starmer's backside. So Dan Wootton, there's stuff going on about him. I'm not going to bring the detail here because I like doing this. But I will give you a story because he's back on GB News tomorrow night, Monday night, 9 o'clock. And let me tell you what goes on. Pink roses. Yeah, why be gentle with Dan and not with Huw? Let's not be hypocritical. Pink roses. I'm suggesting that verbally I'm going to be gentle. Why am I gentle? Because we've now identified an individual and we can't speak of other things because that's how people get sued. Huw Edwards, never mentioned him. We knew him, never mentioned him. And I only spoke of facts. So the only thing that we know is Dan Wootton is going to be on GB News at 9 o'clock tomorrow. And this is how the media works. So some of his colleagues are saying, oh, he's on holiday in New Zealand. Mate, how long has he been gone? A few days. Have you tried to fly to New Zealand and then deal with your body clock? And then fly back for Monday night and deal with your body clock? Whatever's going on, don't smell nice. So I was in... I was working for a radio station. I'm not going to give you the area. And I went out with a young lady. And while I was out, I had a lovely meal. It was a fabulous meal. Went home, but during the night, have you ever had food poisoning? I mean, you hang on to the big white telephone, shouting of your mate Huey. I thought I was next to death, near death. So in the morning, I rang the boss and said, "Look, I'm as sick as a dog. I don't know what's going on. I think it's food poisoning from last night. It must be something, but I'm as sick as a dog." So he says, "All right, don't worry, take the day off." And somehow they said on air, Adrian's not coming in for the lunchtime phone-in. He's been suspended. I swear, a nuclear bomb went off. Everybody was ringing in. The phone lines were melting. People were ringing the main reception of the radio station. "What you done? What you done? Have you sacked him?" And I'm lying in my deathbed. I live on my own. Lying in my deathbed without the blindest bit of knowledge of this, because the boss had just gone, how can we Ram FM Derby? No, Paulie, no. So the boss was kind of using it to our advantage, just to create a bit of furore, because controversy, rather. I'm thinking Prince. Do you know the Prince song? Controversy. It's not controversy, it's controversy. Emphasis on the wrong syllable. So he just stay in bed. He's been suspended. So people thought I was being sacked. I was being dragged across the coals. Everybody went nuts. So I rang him later that afternoon saying, "Oh, boss, I hope it's okay. I'm feeling slightly better." He's like, No, you're ill. Stay off work." So I was like, "Brilliant. Are you going to pay me?" Yeah, don't worry. Because I was freelance. So the next day, I'm feeling much, much better. And I said to him, "Boss, I'm feeling much better. I'm going to come into work." No. We've told everybody you're coming back Thursday." "What have you done that for?" Don't worry. We've told them you're coming back on Thursday." "Oh, all right, boss. Are you going to pay me for today?" Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, we'll pay you." So I have another day off. 2 days off in a row. It's never been known. I'm freelance. If I don't work, I don't get paid. Loving it. Anyway, go back to work on the Thursday without any knowledge of this, what's gone on. And I walk into work and everybody's like, "Where have you been? What's going on?" I said, "What do you mean? I've been on my deathbed. I had food poisoning. I was sick as a dog." "Were you?" "Well, yeah, I was at home. I was sick." "Well, the boss told us you'd been suspended." I said I would have preferred being suspended by my ankles than some of the stuff I was chucking up over the last couple of days. And anyway, I went to see the boss. I said, "What have you been up to?" He said, "Oh, it's brilliant. They're all going to be there at lunchtime. When you start your programme, I'll guarantee you they're all going to be there. And we'll triple your audience." So let me tell you, there's a sniff of that with Dan Wootton. If the bosses have just gone, "Oh, Dan, take a couple of days off. Go on, take a couple of days off. It'll die down. It'll calm down. And then come back Monday night and it'll triple your audience." I will guarantee you there will be more people watching Dan Wootton tomorrow night than has done for a little while. Rather than... I might have to be late tonight. But for your premise, Rita Ora is everywhere. Can't spread anybody this thin. This is Rita Ora, who during lockdown had a 30th birthday party. Remember? She broke the rules and then naffed off down to Australia. This is the same Rita Ora who's got an album out this week. I'm not buying it. Oh, I wouldn't touch her with a barge pole. Wouldn't touch her with yours, let alone my own. Rita Ora, she's everywhere and she doesn't need to be. She broke lockdown rules because she wanted to have a birthday party. Rita, up yours. So let's get to... I was going to talk about Benjamin Mendy tonight, the ex-Man City player who was found innocent twice. Found innocent. Wholly innocent. So why can't we name the now false accusers? Because that's what they are. He's been found wholly innocent. I mean, he's obviously paid a few bob for his brief and his legal team. Peter Aaron. Who is Rita Ora? It's Rita Ora, not oral. But that is funny. That's proper funny. So why can't Benjamin Mendy's accusers be named? Because if he's innocent, and he has been found innocent in a court of law twice, then he's not done what they say he did, which makes them liars. It's 2023. Surely we have a law in place that if you falsely accuse anyone and they're found innocent, then we're going to be looking at you. Spotlight's on you. Did you see what I did there? Spotlight's on Huw. So, Huw Edwards, I want to give you this poll, and it's running at about 1,400 votes currently. And the question that I asked you was this. Front page of the Daily Mirror headlines. Don't know whether you saw that or not. But the front page, Daily Mirror headline, "We want Huw back on TV." So I asked a really simple question. Do you? And this poll has received 1,400 votes. Now, I know that a Murray poll is about 1,000. A dip sample is about 1,000, and that's seen as a good barometer. So this is 1,400 votes. So the yes for having Huw Edwards back on the telly, 10%. The no to having Huw Edwards back on TV, 53%. The don't cares, 13%. And defund the BBC, 24%. So if this was a chart, number one, no Huw Edwards back on the telly, on the BBC. Defund the BBC came second, and third, don't care. So the yeses are nowhere, man. They're nowhere. Now, in this Daily Mirror piece, it was 50 telepals rally for stricken star as poll shows viewers support his return. My hairy derriere. This is a fluff piece. This is 51% of people thought the BBC had handled the scandal badly or very badly. That's a bit low, don't you think? 53% of people in the survey want Huw Edwards back on screen if he is cleared. Oh, there's a caveat for you. If he is cleared. Huw being cleared? There's 3 people within the BBC have complained about that boy being inappropriate. That's on top of the 4 people who came forward to The Sun. So the reason why I want to talk about this is because, are you aware? Sorry, I'm going to ask you a question. It's a really simple question. Put it in the comments if you wish. How do you know that Huw Edwards is in hospital? Tell me. How do you know Huw Edwards is in hospital? So I'm going to give you some background to what's going on. Have you heard of a guy called Andy Coulson? Now, Andy was the ex-editor of the News of the World. And he now runs a PR agency that specialises in crisis management for high-profile individuals. I'll just run that by you again. Peter Aaron, we don't know and cannot find out if he is. Andy Turner, you don't. I know. What I'm saying to you is, how do you know Huw Edwards is in hospital? Because his wife said so? Because the newspapers reported it? How do you know? The uninvited guest, sharp tonight. Andy Coulson was the person who got sent to prison as well. Yeah, yes, he did. Yes, he did. And Rebecca Wade was his kind of dancing partner for a while. Shall we call it that? Dancing partner for a while. And she is still with Murdoch, the Murdoch Empire. So Coulson is now crisis managing one of the BBC's biggest stars. So is this Murdoch versus the BBC, or the BBC versus Murdoch? Andy Coulson was jailed. But as ex-News of the World editor, didn't they get done? Phone hacking. So we've got a wrong 'un who we're told by the wife is gone to hospital. And then we get another wrong 'un who spent time in jail trying to crisis manage the original wrong 'un. So there's a couple of wrong 'uns together. I mean, I've said this to you before. I think it's a couple of gunslingers. They're in Main Street Dodge and they're facing each other and they've got the guns pulled. See who's going to blink first. See who's the best shot. But if you look at, you've had excellent training the past month or so. Look at the Scove crisis, scandal. Look at that and how they just crisis managed it until it just petered out. But there's still more to come out about that. Let me tell you, because I haven't made the videos yet. So the Scove thing just died away. And now we've had, they lanced the boil that was the Huw Edwards story. And it was the missus that had to come out. But do you know that Andy Coulson was in touch with the family before the announcement was made? Wouldn't it be convenient if they were managing this crisis before then? We know that Huw Edwards was liking tweets before Wednesday, Tuesday. And Victoria Derbyshire and Newsnight were investigating him weeks ago. So my question is this, hang on, if Newsnight is investigating Huw Edwards, how far up the food chain did this knowledge go? Because they're saying, oh, he only found out on the Thursday. It is being managed that tight. And I'm just going to read this. This is one of the best comments. Stephen Nash. Yeah, there was a very famous Battle of Preston Pans, and I went to the battle scene. It's just a couple of fields next to a few houses. And I think Henry VIII's flotilla battleships were out in the river, the mouth of the river, and they were lobbing massive bombs from cannons on his flotilla of ships. And some of those were landing in these fields. And I looked out to the water thinking, blimey, that's some way. So they must have had pretty good ordnance back in those days. The Battle of Preston Pans, fabulous, honestly. Sebastian Hopkins says, personally, I think it's a psyop, psychological operation. Yeah, maybe. Uninvited guest. Wasn't Coulson part of Blair's team when he was in power? Rebecca Wade. Somebody said earlier, well, wasn't Rebecca Wade Mrs. to Ross Kemp? I once heard a story that Rebecca was quite formidable. Probably still is. Quite formidable. And that Ross got... I mean, look at the Baldy brothers from EastEnders. You think, hard men. The Baldy brothers from EastEnders. She gave him a dressing down in public. Finger pointing right in his face. And he was as meek as a lamb. That was Ross Kemp. I mean, he didn't even say, oi, wind your neck in. Let's sort this out in private when we get home. Wind your neck in. Let's go home. Because that's how real men would deal with it. We'll talk about this when we get home. Shut them up. No. Okay, Rebecca. So she's quite formidable. And she was down dancing with Andy Coulson. I mean, Gary Darcy, there's a sub in Aberlady Bay. Is there? What do you mean by sub? Is that what Huw Edwards was buying? Or is that Frank Boff? I want to read this comment that I believe encapsulates everything that's gone on in the last 6 days or so. And how, in my view, there's a lack of decency in today's society. There's a lack of decency in this whole Huw Edwards story. There's no integrity. There's no trust. That's been obliterated, eviscerated. There's no trust. He can't go back on telly saying, oh, I'll read you the news. Yeah, Huw, mate, off you go. We don't want to know. You've broken our trust, a la Barrymore, a la Scove. So we don't want you on the telly. 53% of the poll that I ran Do you want Huw back on telly? 53% said no. 1,400 votes. You can go, which tab is it under? You can go to the channel and look under polls, I think it is. It's there. But Toxicology wrote a very, very, very prescient comment. Quite a long comment, and I want to read it out to you. All right, okay. I think, is that Dale Steele? Oh, right, okay. Is he noising anybody up tonight? Graham H. Didn't know you was on. Hope everyone has been given plenty of... Yeah, if look, we've got over 200 people viewing this. If you can stick the thumbs up, I would much appreciate it. Graham, thank you for that. Do appreciate it. D. John, I think you mean submarine nukes. I've been around Aberlady Bay, been over to Faith. So I want to read Toxicology's comment. I don't believe there's any integrity, there's any trust, but more importantly, there's no decency in this whole grubby affair. Doing stuff behind his wife's back. I mean, I've had friends who've had affairs behind their wife's back, and one of them says, "Oh, what do you think I should do?" Do what? Well, you know, da-di-da-di-da, and told me the graphic detail. I said, look, mate, you've got 2 kids. They're young teenagers. Zip your pants up and get back to your missus. Oh, but, you know, no, pull your zip up and go back to your missus. And that boy credits me with saving his marriage, because he was off. He was legging it. His kids were distraught. I mean, obviously his wife was just in bits. But he did the honourable thing ultimately and went back to her. And sometimes you just need someone to bring back Captain Pugwash and Roger the cabin boy. Thank you, Tina. And sometimes some people just need somebody to say, here, wind your neck in, do the right thing. So Huw Edwards, at which point has he done the right thing? It's a question for you. You can decide. But for me, there's no decency, no integrity, trust's gone. So Toxicology wrote this comment on one of the videos. And they say, I think it is important that instead of people talking about the mental health of Huw Edwards, instead, the talk should be about Dele AllI, who has shown exactly what trauma and depression looks and is like. I don't want to hear about Huw. If the media... Oh, God, I can't swear. Give an absolute hoot about mental health. If many of those who say they care about mental health issues, right there in Dele's is a story that perfectly encapsulates everything you need to know and how it affects people in the present day. You want to know why he went from hero to zero? Depression. That's Dele AllI. And anxiety. And a whole load more. I'll just interject and continue with that comment. Dele AllI. Mum was an alcoholic. Abused at 6. Smoking at 7. Dealing drugs at 8. At 10, he was threatened with a knife over recreational D. And at 12 years old, he was put with a foster family. Huw Edwards? Remember, this is Toxicology again. Remember how I said you could have won the lottery and suddenly wake up depressed, which isn't the case with Huw. Everyone loved Dele AllI, and then his career imploded. I could always see something was off in his body language and things he said on the documentary about Spurs. And the only red flags present were his apathy to life and his football. So everybody who is sympathetic to Huw should shut up about him, Huw, and concentrate on supporting someone who really deserves it. Otherwise, I suspect your concern about mental health is very superficial. Obviously, I'm not having a go at you, Adrian. Thanks, Toxicology. But I feel this is very important to say. My childhood was nowhere near as bad as Dele AllI's, and I I can't tell you the untold damage it did to me in the most crucial years of my adulthood. And still, there are many things that I am having to unpack on an almost daily basis. P.S. Love the example you used at the end. These types of personalities tend to shout the loudest about how people are for making them accountable for their actions. I'd love to hear your comments. Dele AllI, in essence, it's Dele AllI versus Huw Edwards. Huw Edwards, a national star, fated, multimillionaire, £500,000 a year. But Dele AllI, also a sporting superstar, player for England, scored goals for England. I mean, some of his skills on the football pitch were sublime. And then he just crashes. Goes into rehab for sleeping pill addictions, 6 weeks. Comes out, gives an interview to Gary What's-his-face, the Man U player that I didn't think was very good. But, he's a TV star. But Dele AllI, what a man. What a man to just face up to his demons. And then face up to those demons in public. So if the people that are crisis managing Huw Edwards, don't try that trick. Don't try the Dele AllI trick, because we can see through it. We've already seen through Huw. We've seen through him. And this is what he needs to do first. Away from the public gaze, he either needs to work on his relationship with his wife. He took those vows in the eyes of God, if you wish. Your God, my God, anybody's God. But it was in the eyes of God. Until death do us part. If he's taken, and he's a God-fearing man because he goes to church every week, and he has a PhD in little churches in Wales. So he's a God-fearing man. So if anybody is managing this particular crisis, you can tell them and Huw, we're not interested in you hand-wringing to the camera. You need to fess up and be a man and say, I understand and appreciate what I've done. At least Scove came out and said it was unwise, but it wasn't illegal. And some of what Huw Edwards has done is not illegal. But both of them have slept around behind their wives' back. Doesn't anybody in 2023 get that? When you make a promise to, and I'm taking my own vows in a month, which is why it's resonating so much with me. I'm taking my vows and I am deadly serious about my vows. I take my responsibility as a man very seriously. And I'm sure there are tens of thousands the land over that do exactly the same. It's not easy being in a relationship, being married. You may have things inside of you. You may have needs that need to be met. But not behind your wife's back, man. That's what kills relationships. It's not the actual act of doing what you're doing. It's the lies and the subterfuge and sitting there barefacedly lying to your wife. Oy, 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 oy. However, man, it's 2023. We're getting a kicking from the politicians. We're getting kicking from really evil people. And you're thinking, oh, well, I'll just, I'll text someone and ask for mucky pictures. Grow a pair, Huw. Grow a pair. So I'll get to some of the comments. I know that I'm going to overrun slightly. I normally keep it to an hour. But I'm going to take your comments and tackle them face on. Yeah, I'm going to have to read those later. Jimmy Savile, OBE, KC, SG. Huw knows what he's done. I know exactly he knows what he's done, but he's not going to fess up and tell us everything. He's not, because then he's ruined. He's done. And what's the point of hiring crisis management? The reason why you hire crisis management is because you want them to fix it. You want them to get you out of the mire. And trust me, Huw Edwards is nose deep in the brown stuff. He's not going to get out of this. Unless you've got dim people like the Daily Mirror. Oh, that's the point I was trying to make a little earlier for you. In the Daily Mirror, they're like, we want Huw back on TV. And then they get into, little Ollie Murs, the X Factor, Britain's Got Talent singer. So he got married over the weekend. And the Mirror reported that there was a fallout between Ollie Murs, Ollie Murs, what do you know that we don't, Adrian? Ollie Murs and Mark Wright. So the Daily Mirror are stirring it. There's a massive fallout. Mark Wright wasn't at his wedding. And yet on Instagram, there's Mark Wright standing next to Ollie Murs with the big wheel in the background. So it was obviously Ollie's wedding. And they're flipping the bird at the camera. So I thought, hang on a second. Oh, that's very good. Tina. So there's now going on there's no fallout between Ollie Murs and Mark Wright, but the Daily Mirror says there is. And yet with our own peepers, we can look on Instagram and see that there's not. But back in the day, before social media and networks, we wouldn't have known that. They would have been printing lies and getting away with it. So to the Daily Mirror, shove that front page where the sun don't shine. Because according to the poll that I've done on this channel, and I know there could be a suggestion that it's an echo chamber, but the people that watch this channel, 1,400 votes, 53% say, no, don't want them back on the telly. Thanks, Daily Mirror. Left wing. Daisy, Huw is merely expendable, Huw. The one who drew the short straw to keep the attention away from the rest of the P gang. We know what the P stands for. Likely more perverted and dirty than Huw. To Richard Adams, the law needs to change. I agree, Richard. Thank you, Daisy, by the way. I agree, Richard, completely. The law does need to change. And it needs to change in a real common sense way. Not the way that the politicians can get away with it. Because, look, all the time I've been alive, and every Sunday, there was always a politician that was caught out. And it's not those upper echelons where money's no object. It's not necessarily doing what you do. It's getting caught doing it. That's the misdemeanor, not actually doing it. It's getting caught. Pamanonda. I do hope that I've said that correctly. The perverts want him back. No surprise there, then. Yeah, all the left wing. And I'm desperately trying not to swear. I know more than I let on sometimes. 11, the Earl of Mars. Scrap the BBC and the Daily Mirror. The BBC has always been a protector of wrong-uns, and for a national newspaper to headline like that shows you where we are with the MSN in general. Do you know, I know, because a lot of people are commenting saying, I don't watch the BBC. I don't pay my licence fee because I don't watch the BBC. A lot of people are moving away from traditional media, including the newspapers, including the printed media, simply because they know they lie. It's worse than the politicians. At least the politicians are now standing down from Parliament because they're getting found out. Another one stepping down today. What's that all about? I need to look at that. I'll look at the reportage tomorrow. Mike Lane, I think your thoughts are evil and what? Need mending. Hang on a second. Mike, what are you talking about? I'll wait till somebody else comments and it'll populate. Rhino Skin, if they let all the presenters they fired very publicly back, I don't think they will like Schofield to be let back. And Hugh's wife is high profile. I think she was behind him being outed. Rhino Skin, she definitely did. She definitely did. I think they were advised to do that. I think they were completely advised. But as I say, how do you know that Huw Edwards is in a hospital? What's your source? Oh, the lying mainstream media. Lee Ruby, Britvic, he can read the news, just don't drop his trousers in front of a camera again. Huw for the Mayor of London, according to Lee Ruby, Britvic. That's funny, Lee, stop it. Bashab, this is the move to accepting paedophilia. Any sexual urges are not your responsibility to control and must be accepted as natural. I get it, deviance. This is the agenda in our media and the groups they support. Claire Hillier, considering I don't watch the BBC as I don't pay for a licence, I couldn't care less. Thank you, Claire. The uninvited guest, no, I don't want him back on TV as there will be no integrity in what he says, and it's about time the BBC went commercial. I'll run a poll because I was thinking about doing it today, but I had this live tonight. Inky's a cat. If he's sectioned, he wouldn't be allowed a phone. Well, I said this during the week. If he has been sectioned, he's either been section 136 because of he's a danger to himself or to others. But it was his wife who said he's been taken to hospital. He's gone to hospital. Sounds voluntarily, but again, they were light with detail. They should have said whether he's gone voluntarily, but they didn't because they just wanted you to think that he's gone to hospital. I'll ask you the question again. How do you know? Thank you, uninvited guest. Marion Cannon. Never heard of him. Don't have a telly. Oh, the joy. Zippy off Rainbow. Must be hard for Huw when you send him a pic. Zippy. D. John. Yet BBC's supposed comfy, established and trusted presenter Frank Boff was sacked and cancelled for a much less serious misdemeanour. If you choose to be a public face on national TV, then you need to keep your kinks and libido in the matrimonial bedroom. Thank you, D. John. I think you'll find that Uncle Frank was doing Colombian marching powder with ladies of the night. He admitted it. I've got the front page somewhere. Yeah, Uncle Frank and his lovely knitted jerseys. Colombian marching powder and ladies of ill repute. PD Tech, okay, I'll compromise, Adrian. Allow Huw back on TV, but scrap the licence fee. We might do a poll tomorrow. Should the BBC go to a sort of Netflix subscription model? So those that want the BBC can pay for the BBC, and those that want to dip in and out can dip in and out, but those who don't want the BBC don't have to pay for it. Do we want the BBC to go fully commercial? Or the Netflix model? It's 2023. Government propaganda. How's the government going to get propaganda out now? To Sean67 UK, personally, I don't care, says Sean. I don't watch any mainstream TV. If he's not committed any criminal offences, I don't see why he should lose his career. Needs to stop hiding behind his wife, though, and mental health, and man up and admit his mistakes. Thank you, Sean. Ian C9545, axe the TV tax. Thank you, Ian. To Kenneth Bowery, no, in jail, just a sexual predator. That's what he thinks. Thank you, Kenneth. Mr. Jamin, scrap the licence fee. That seems to be a theme that's going through this. Ebony, would you want to be driven in a cab, let alone told the news, by a 61-year-old man who's been found texting teenagers for sex pics and was then committed to a psych ward? No, me neither. Hope the guy gets help for his psychological illness, if his psychological illness is real, but he's not fit to sell a newspaper outside a Euston station, let alone anchor the national news. Thank you, Ebony. D-Dub just shows who's working for that rag, as in the Daily Mirror. And Ebony again, I wouldn't pee on a copy of The Sun if it was on fire. I wouldn't have Huw Edwards back on TV either. It's called cognitive dissonance or critical thinking. Thank you, Ebony. So this other poll that I did, it was when Jeremy Vine came out and said, Caesar the geezer. Nicola Brindley, is his wife back at work? Interesting. He might not be allowed visitors. Norman Taylor. Thank you, Norman. The BBC did a fabulous episode of Casualty for the 75th anniversary of our NHS. It was very moving, dedicated, and very real. Thank you, Norman. So this poll that I did, Jeremy Vine tweeted on Wednesday, to say he thinks the BBC presenter involved in the scandal should come forward publicly. So I asked you the question, who should name him first? The poll received 1,100 votes. So again, it's beyond that threshold of a Mori poll of 1,000, a dip sample of 1,000. So who should name the BBC presenter first? Was it the Sun newspaper? No, 8% of votes. Was it the BBC? 20% of votes. Everyone else on social media, because that seemed to be what was happening, 7%. But the BBC presenter himself, 65%. So what I take from that is people just want people to do the decent thing, the right thing, because that's what we did for the last 3 years. We were all doing the right thing by our families, our friends, and our communities. But yet these people, I'm not necessarily talking about breaking lockdown rules. I'm talking about simple human beings just doing the decent thing. And the decent thing is sort out your relationship with your wife before you start messing about with these peccadillos and going to somebody's house for a cup of tea and giving them 200 quid. What's that all about? I mean, I'm a tight northerner. I wouldn't part with the steam off 200 quid for just going to see somebody. Is that just to keep the mouth shut? You know what they call people who accept money for nothing? D. John, odd that it's the perpetrator's mental health that has become the big story and not all the salacious activity with all the young men who the protective media prefer to call youngsters. Kevin Barry said, Adrian, you're right. The selfishness and hypocrisy once again is off the charts. And that's not even mentioning the police. Before I continue with the last few comments, we now hear via the Guardian on, I think it was Saturday morning, Saturday's Guardian, that the parents have been interviewed, and they've been interviewed in such a way so that you can't be identified. They can't be identified, rather. So their backs to the camera, their voice has been masked. Even the IRA, terrorists, didn't get that. But a lot of people are getting this wrong. Everybody says, why would the parents, the mum and the stepdad, go to the son first? Well, this is how it happened. They went to in April. In April, they went to the police first. Police. Didn't go to the BBC, didn't go to the media. They went to the police first for their determination, and they determined nothing illegal. Then they went to the BBC and said, look, I believe that the parents of the first young guy was trying to protect their child. Let me qualify that. We don't know whether it's male or female because we haven't been told. Although the first reportage in The Sun said it was female. And then everybody else is going, no, it's lads. So we're still confused and we don't have the facts. We'll wait for the facts. But the fact is that the parents were trying to protect their child. Went to the police. Police couldn't do anything. It's not illegal what he was doing. And then they went to the BBC for protection to stop the very wealthy, high-profile presenter to stop sending money. Didn't happen. And it was only when the Sun knocked on the BBC's door and said, I think we've got a story. It went straight through. It was like an enema in the BBC. Went all the way up to the Director General. I can't even say it. Went all the way up to the Director General. And he pooped his pants. Because it was getting to a point where the BBC could have possibly gone into freefall. And the DG, well, he's got the political will possibly against him. But the politicians were so busy doing other things, which we won't get into, schoolboy Sunak, that they weren't really, what the BBC did, what? But as Seaside 2001 says, Adrian, you can tell I'm tired, not one mention of the victims, as you say. But this also, he has admitted himself into a private hospital. It's not like the NHS sectioned him and sent him to an NHS hospital. There's a huge difference. Now, I'm not going to presume anything. I'm gonna leave it at that because I'm getting tongue-tied. I'm getting tired. I think this story is still going to run and run and run. The crisis management people, the PR people, are going to manage it to within an inch of its life. So we may not find any more facts. But the parents have recorded a video. It looks like that the Murdoch Empire are going to run 3 documentaries, a series of 3. Bend over. Surely not the bend over. So there is more to come with this story. You know it. I know it. But it will be crisis managed within an inch of its life. What do I think is going to happen with Huw? It is dependent on his response. Now look at Holly. Holly's response. You have to understand that these TV stations get the best people in, and then Holly does a statement. Are you okay? What? You've been sniffing the cooking sherry, Holly? So, what do you think Huw's going to come out with? Because I'll also tell you this as a surety, and I know mental health doesn't get better. It's not like you break an arm and then it heals itself. It's about managing mental health the best way that you can. So this is a guy that we were told has mental health issues so serious that he's had to be admitted to hospital. Yet that day and the day before, he was liking tweets. Thought he was struggling. Not really. Not if you can like tweets. So you've got sufficient about you to be on Twitter looking at stuff, finding out what's going on. Why would he have been doing that? You're smarter than me. So if you can, hit the thummy thing. I'm now going to go into a darkened room and chill out with a large G&T. Thank you very much. The next live, don't forget, this coming Wednesday, 8 o'clock. So the lives, I think we're going to put it 8 o'clock because people have busy lives and have stuff to do. And it seems that from sort of 8, people are relaxing, are able to listen and interact. Giles Morris, thank you very much. Light Sky, nonce BBC, or I think it's nonce Cesaros, but it's to be seen and determined. So Wednesday, 8 o'clock. I think it's a more convenient time for you. It's not too late so that you're so squiffy you've erst a bottle of wine. So get all Larry on me. But 8 o'clock for the moment. And if it changes in the future, it changes in the future. Alison, sorry, going back to the start. Can't start this halfway. You are too good. Alison, thank you very much. I think I need to review it as well. Gary Darcy, thank you, Adrian. Great show. I'll be back Wednesday, 8 o'clock. That's the next live. And then next Sunday. And if there's any change in that, I will tell you about the change rather than tell you when it is. Does that make any sense to you? So Sundays, Wednesdays, 2000 hours, 8 o'clock. That's when the lives are going to be positioned. And if it's not going to be there for whatever reason, because I've only got a month to go and I can't let my fiance burden the whole of the organising the rest of the wedding. So thank you to everyone that's interacted with the live this evening. Thank you for all your comments. I will look at them in due course. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions. Don't forget to ding the bell when there's new videos, and there are quite a few coming this week. When there's videos coming, you'll get some kind of alert. Fingers crossed. My name's Adrian Allen. Thank you for the live tonight. I'll see you in the next video.